the Opposition.
Common sense conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime after 8 years. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. The results are in. He told us that if he massively increased debts and taxes, that someone else would pay for it. But of course, the Millionaire Trust Fund Prime Minister and his billionaire friends who invite him to private islands never pay a dime. It's always seniors, small businesses, and single mothers. Why would it be any different this time?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, in this budget, like all others, we will take into account the economic context as well as the needs of Canadians. That means for millennials and Gen Z as well, we will unlock supply in housing. We will ensure there are supports for renters. We will make sure there's a national school food program, and Mr. Speaker, and on this side of the House, we will make sure we do that while maintaining a strong fiscal position, AAA credit rating, and the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7.
She's got some nerve.
Don't make good policy, Mr. Speaker.
She's got all that jewelry on, nice clothes.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, they've definitely proven that. Their slogan for the last 8 years is that you can double the debt and someone else will just pay the bill. But we know who pays every single time. It is welders and waitresses, seniors, small businesses, and single mothers who have faced doubling housing costs and unaffordable food. And now their solution is to do more of the same, to pour on billions of dollars more of inflationary spending that will drive up interest rates, inflations, and taxes. Why would we expect it to be any different this time?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, our government has lifted 2.3 million Canadians out of poverty, and I would like to put it to the opposition, if they truly believe in supporting Canadians, why have they voted against the Canada Dental Benefit? Why have they voted against pharmacare? Why have they voted against $10 a day childcare, Mr. Speaker? That does not make sense because slogans do not make good policy.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Except everything she just listed are slogans on which they have not delivered. What they have delivered is they've doubled the debt, which has caused the worst inflation in 40 years, interest rates rising faster than at any time in history, the doubling of housing costs, the worst growth in the G7, the worst housing price inflation in that same group of nations. And today, after all of these devastatingly costly results, what do? The same thing that got us in this problem in the first place. Why won't they realize that they're the problem and not the solution?
For real.
The Honourable Minister for Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition has been masquerading across the country as a working class hero, but it's fascinating when you actually listen to what he thinks people do for a living. In a couple of recent speeches, he said he thinks electricians capture electricity from the sky and that welders weld with their bare hands. What's he going to tell me next? The fishermen in my community dive beneath the ocean and catch them with their bare teeth? I can forgive the opposition leader for being a career politician who's been on the public dime for a couple of decades, but if he wants to represent the interests of the working class, he should talk to a person who has a real job.
Alors.
Order.
Alors.
Order, please.
They finally got a good punchline and they can't get over it. He gets punchlines every day. He just gave you like 10.
Order, please.
You gave him 1.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Quebecers have been cheated by this government since 2019 when it comes to housing. We represent 22% of the population. We got only 14% of the money, and only 6% of that was for affordable housing. Despite all this, the Minister of Housing is giving lessons out today. He told the press, La Presse, that his government is acting in good faith, in his opinion, and that it's the provinces that have to agree to do things differently. It's the federal government that has to do things differently. It must stop fleecing Quebecers. Will it pay our fair share of housing funds immediately instead of giving out lessons? The Honourable Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. The Bloc Québécois is not defining policies on housing in Quebec. We have a good relationship with our counterparts in Quebec to build housing. For example, we are making investments to build 8,000 affordable housing units. The overall programs show that it's clear that we are ensuring that Quebec is getting its fair share. We will continue our work in building homes in Quebec and across the country. The Honourable Member for La Prairie, you have to do that, give lessons. It was this government that made the current housing crisis worse. It lost control of immigration and didn't pay Quebec its fair share for housing. That same government, incidentally, gave us ArriveCan. It can't print passports. It can't pay its own employees with Phoenix. You can't make this stuff up. These gifted people are telling the provinces to act in good faith and do things differently. Does the government understand that the only thing that needs to be done differently is for these gifted people to mind their own business and stop trying to manage Quebec's housing money? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, we are Quebecers, and when we're talking about housing, they're saying, mind your own business. Well, when we stand up and we talk about ensuring that our kids are not going to school hungry, they say no. But when the Prime Minister of a foreign country comes here from another continent and he tells us, well, we have to listen to them. Well, Mr. Speaker, they'd be good to listen to them because Quebecers are standing up for Quebecers and Canada, and we will always do this. The Honourable Member for Rosemount Petite Patrie. Mr. Speaker, Canada's large corporations are highly profitable and among the least taxed in the world, a big gift from the Conservatives that the Liberals have maintained. In the U.S., President Biden has understood that it's unfair to workers, and he's going to make companies pay what they owe. Here, the Liberals are hesitating, treading water, beating around the bush, and we fear they won't have the courage to do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, I beg you, tell me, am I wrong? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, he is wrong. That's the simple answer, Mr. Speaker. There's some problems with memory, Mr. Speaker. We have an agreement with NDP colleagues. The Conservatives were opposed. We know that the best way to ensure stability in the country, to ensure affordability, is to have more competition. There's more choice with more competition. There's better prices, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to fight every day to ensure the quality of life of Canadians.
The Honourable Member from Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are struggling and food bank use is at an all-time high, rich oil and gas CEOs are making record profits. Canadians are frustrated. But sources say that the finance minister backed out from an excess profits tax in this budget. Why? Because oil and gas lobbyists asked her to. Yeah. Just like the Conservatives, the Liberals keep caving to big oil and gas. Why do the Liberals keep protecting the profits of big oil and gas instead of everyday Canadians?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would point out Canada is the first and the only G20 country to have eliminated inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. We have introduced a tax on share buybacks across the economy to tackle exactly excess profits. Canada is putting into place the first and only in the world oil and gas emissions cap to hold the industry accountable for their own commitments. On the other hand, the Conservative leader has pledged to his oil and gas CEO donors to make pollution free again. We know who's in the pockets of oil and gas. It's that party over there.